Let's binge on finance.
I just want to talk about Crispr Therapeutics, which is a gene editing company focused on transformative gene-based medicines for serious diseases. And what alerted me to this stock is the recent crash. I don't really like to use that word. The pullback in the S&P pulled back all stocks. Of course, everything goes in tandem. But CRISPR pulled back quite aggressively and bounced off exactly 100. Also bouncing off this support level, this year-long support level. So I was looking at around 100 and I tried to get this video out, but it's my first video and I was having technical problems. So it's taken me all this time just to get to this point. But look at this, from the top to the bottom is 54%. Now in the same time, the SPY, the S&P 500, from the top to the bottom of the recent crash is 5.8%. That's bounced back. It's regained all of its losses. Whereas if we go back to CRISPR, it's only regained 33% of its losses. So potentially more upside. It's definitely worth looking at for a good risk reward, possibly with a tight stop. So for CRISPR to regain all of its losses, you're looking at more than 100% gain. So what about the company? It's about 10 years old in an industry which in itself is very young, the genetic engineering. In fact, two of their scientists who developed what's called CRISPR Cas9, which is one of their technologies, they received a Nobel Prize last year for chemistry. They got two treatments in clinical trials, one of which is the CTX100, which aims to treat cancers. You can imagine the addressable market size for that. But what I want to do is just show you a quick clip from Cathie Wood, who explains the potential of the CRISPR technology and goes into a little bit of detail about the potential 2 trillion opportunity.
Of how important this is, only 5% of the monogenic diseases, so the diseases caused by one gene, only 5% of them are treatable today. With gene editing, all of them potentially will be treatable. And then beyond that, monogenic is only 2% of all the genes out there. So if I were to tell you that if we were able to solve all the problems for people with monogenic disease, that's a $2 trillion opportunity, can you imagine how big the polygenic opportunity is going to be?
And it's worth mentioning that the balance sheet is pretty good as well. They got 1.4 billion in cash and very little debt. You can see here they've got a 35.8% forecasted annual growth rate from 16 analysts. And something else that I'd like to mention is they released a press release last month saying that they've got a new chief commercial officer, Philip Drouet, who has more than 20 years experience in pharmaceutical marketing. And he served as president of Hospira's US division before Hospira's acquisition by Pfizer in 2015. So he obviously knows what he's doing, and that's good sort of new, fresh energy within the company. Now, CRISPR Therapeutics is in the Ark ETF. Let's have a look. Go to the Genomics Revolution ETF. And down here, you can see the top 10, which it's not in the top 10. It used to be, but now it's just slipped out. Not far. I'm just going to open the PDF here. I think it's 12 or 13. I can't say. There you go. CRISPR 13. The market value of the shares, they got 2.7% weight in CRISPR, worth $266 million worth of CRISPR shares. So they're pretty high up, considering you got 57 different companies in there. The fact that it's a young industry means that you've got to be a little bit careful if you're holding long term and just keep an eye on it, because gene editing, there's actually a different technique called prime editing, which allows direct editing of cells before they've divided. So alternatives like this may actually end up being the winner. This is the issue when you're in a very young industry. The reward is great, but also you got higher risk. But consider that CRISPR does have a great financial runway, good balance sheet. They've got time to prove themselves in a huge addressable market. And developments could lead to things like biofuels or industrial materials. They're working on the cutting edge of gene adaptation. So overall, company is, to me, seems pretty solid, and it comes back to the chart. It's just a great chart with a good risk reward. So I wanted to just put it on your radar, do your own due diligence, blah, 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 and see you again.